I've just got.
Steel, I'm destined to grow. Made up of imbeciles, no mind of my own. Mark the afflicted with Tyrannosaurus mark. Damn you for everything that I choose not to recall. I am the Titan. I am the Titan. Digital walls collapse, debris by the seams. The kettle swarms above, elating my defeat. I feel what all of you know. I live to snuff the real. Please reciprocate these fabrications, spinning lies until you kneel. I am the Titan. Between my teeth where it belongs. Drink the marrow, bleed it dry. Suffer my ignorance, you swing as I deny. Emits and radiates, it reeks of fear and sweat. The heart of malice palpitates as the media takes the threat. I feel a zeitgeist rife with bile as they bow to their pariah. Now bleed upon my burning cross, your self-proclaimed Messiah. I am the Titan. Titan! I am the...
Hi, and welcome to the Armchair Sessions. I'm Laura from LKMusic, and I'm here today with Dan Moran.
Hi.
who was already previously today. He's done a massive, wonderful acoustic set for us of some of the mix of the music you've been involved with for the last. How many years have you been playing?
Good question. So I've been doing live music since I was about 15. So probably the past 10 years. But the stuff that I was doing in the acoustic set was all relatively recent things. So the first song, At Last Awake, is off of an upcoming solo album. The Titan was obviously from the recent album I did with Reaper, Stranger Than Fiction. And the one that I did after that was from Excite the Light 2, which has been kind of sort of released, but not really, but by Twisted Illusion, that I featured on. I'm really proud of it. And it was an arrangement I asked Mac Jones if I could do, and I was really happy with it. So
let's go back in time, if we can, to like the beginning, because a lot of people got into music in school because they had a cool guitar teacher. But I'm from what I can remember, your story's a little bit different than that, isn't it? Like, do you go a little bit further back?
Yeah, it's a weird one, really. I'll be succinct because I know that I can ramble, so I'll do my best to be as succinct as I can. 8 years old, my dad takes me on a driving trip because I used to go pick up my mum from work with him, and he puts on a cassette tape of old Foreigner and Eric Clapton songs, and I heard Jukebox Hero and Bad Love, those two songs, and I was like, oh, that song makes me want to do music, and that song makes me want to do guitar. I want a guitar. So I did that, started piecing things together, and then eventually got Guitar Hero, started playing through Guitar Hero 3, found the song One by Metallica, and then me and Anthony from Reaper spent our time just basically learning the entire Metallica back catalogue. We were able to play the whole of Master of Puppets, and we were like, we should probably write our own songs. And then we spent like 6 or 7 years figuring out how the hell we're supposed to do that, and now I'm here, I guess.
Yeah, Reaper's a long-term story for you, isn't it? It's been going on for a long time.
Yeah. The way I'd always describe Reaper is it's 7 or 8 of the best formative years of my life as a musician, and 2.5 to 3 years of actual genuine graft. Yeah. By comparison to what we used to do, what we're doing now is such a far cry from how much work we used to put in. Because like back then, we were just kids. We didn't really know what we were doing. We were very much figuring out what not to do. And now that we're in a position where it's like, we know all of these, we've got all these tools to be able to work with. Let's use them to our advantage, and let's see what we can do, especially over the course of the pandemic when we were given so much free time to work on that new album. When we were given all of that time, we were like, let's put this together, and we just worked and figured it out. So yeah, it's been really cool. It's the most important musical project I've ever been in, for sure.
Yeah, and it's led to like many other opportunities. Like I know people that saw you way back in the day when you were babies in comparison to how you are now.
Oh yeah.
And I've actually, truth be told, I've known of Reaper for a very, very long time. Never seen them.
Yeah.
Never seen them.
Yeah.
That's coming up though. I'm
very glad you didn't catch me, at least, in those first views, because dude, I sucked. My voice back then was like, it was thrash, so it was just kind of whatever. Your vocalist wasn't as important as the guitar work was.
Yeah.
Whereas now, especially as musicians, as we've matured, in heavy inverted quotations, we've kind of figured out that like we are very much more of a varied band in terms of our influences, especially with current lineup. And the more that we've kind of played into that, the more we've been like, let's just stop worrying about being a metal band and let's just worry about writing music that we care about. And it all just happened to turn out to be metal. So we were like, oh, okay, I guess that's our call.
And it's led to many different opportunities for you as well. You mentioned before you worked with Twisted Illusion.
Oh, yeah. I've worked with quite a few bands. Twisted probably being the highest profile band I've been involved with. Matt's an absolute force. I love working with the guy. We've been through the muck together quite a bit. He put me on for ETL2 after, funnily enough, he caught me depping for Scare Tactics.
Oh, wow.
So I was doing guitar work, filling in for Paul Sharnock, who had left that band. And I just do dep gigs every now and again for them when they need me, because I adore Scare Tactics to bits. And then from that, Matt saw me and pulled me in to do ETL2. So I did Empathy Has Earned for that. And then I also featured on that's Excite the Light. Sorry, I should have specified his Excite the Light trilogy. So I was on the second one first, and then he pulled me in for 3 to do another song, and then he re-recorded 1 and got me in for another. So I'm actually on all 3 albums.
Oh wow, that's exciting.
It's very cool. I love those albums. They're so good. If anyone gets the chance to check them out, you should.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll link everything we talk about in the description anyway. when you say that you've worked with like Twisted Illusion, like the most high profile band that you worked with, I feel like a certain Welsh band that you went on tour with in Russia are quite,
Well, to
are
be
quite
fair, I wasn't
possibly
working
being
with
missed
them.
out,
Yeah.
being missed out of that list there.
Well, to be fair, it was because I featured on the TI one, but yeah, they are. I mean, if we're talking about like biggest jobs I've ever done, yeah, the Ashen show that I did back in 2019, playing in St. Petersburg and Moscow for Bullet was just massive. That was a time, man. That was a real time, and it's so cool to see that like the Ashen guys are doing so well. It's sick. I'm really, really happy for them, and the new album's phenomenal. So yeah, that was definitely the biggest show, but the biggest actual work I've been involved with, like the one where a band asked me to do something, TI is probably the biggest band I've been in.
That's exciting.
Yeah, man, it's very cool.
So, literally, the reason that you're here is to talk about your solo stuff as well.
Yes.
So why don't you go into that? Because there's some very exciting stuff coming up for you, from what I can gather.
Oh, there's quite a lot. It's at the moment, because of the focus on a specific project that can't be named at the moment, that I'm working on to make sure that that's met the deadline. Those things aren't time sensitive, especially considering a lot of them are very much passion projects for me. There are 2 albums that I've had songs written for about, oh my God, 8 years, nearly 6 or 7 years, I don't know, but a really long time. The reason why I wanted to get into solo stuff is because I was like, I've literally got about 5 albums worth of material here. Let's just get them done. And the first one that I've got coming up is a sort of concept album, a very short one, which is what Last Awake was from, the first song that I played in the set. That's from an album called Signal that I'm going to be working on. It's a concept album about a dude who's been left on like an emergency shuttle hurtling towards Earth, and he's been in cryogenic sleep for many years, and he wakes up to finally realize that he's coming in contact with Earth, and as he's sailing in, he has these sort of fantasies about what Earth's going to be like when he returns home, and it's returned with thoughts of his daughter knowing that he's coming home. So he's coming back to her, and she's been waiting for him for nearly a decade, or however long it may have been. It's not really specified. And then towards the end, he's asked to be drawn in, and he's faced with these hesitations of coming home, because he's not sure whether or not the dream is going to live up to the reality. And it's very much sort of an allegory for UK lockdown, where everyone's been terrified about returning to actual normality in society, but they spent the entire time in lockdown just wishing that they can see all their friends again. But what are they going to be like when they come back? Or that they changed too much for those social ties to be, measurable again? There's so many things, and the album kind of ends on a cliffhanger where he decides to go home, but you don't know if he lands safely. And I feel like that's also an allegory for me kind of jumping into a lot of my solo work, because if I give myself closure, I'm not going to finish those next projects, because the second I say everything's going to be okay, I'll procrastinate. So it's like, no, don't give yourself the ending, and then from here, finish everything you've got to do, because you've been waiting for far too long. Yeah,
you have a very interesting work ethic.
Yeah, it's very much a don't end the part for yourself, because you've got to get into the next thing. Always go to something
on the go.
Yeah, you've got to find something, but you've also got to remember to take breaks, because I'm very verbal about my mental health and making sure that everyone else is, because it should be spoken about more frankly, I suppose, but with severity, of course, as well. And I know that if I sink into that procrastination, it's going to take me months to come out of it, because I very much sink into that kind of mentality. So I make sure that when I'm not giving myself those moments of closure, it's like, okay, well, what's the thing to come after this? And from there would come the next 4 solo albums that I've got, which I guess I'll have to talk about another time. But I'm very excited for them all. affliction stands aside. The rebels through from lunar guide. So long to land of slumber. Earth comes to pull me in. Concentrating, slowly fading in this old and lonely song. Constant calls to call and feed. You've been away too long. Palpitation, seeing the earth approaching, would suddenly fall into the blue. The sky no longer sits below. Palpitation, seeing the earth approaching, steadily fall into the blue. The sky no longer sits below. Hold on. I'm awake, I lost awake.
So you mentioned there that you talk a lot about your mental health, and I think that's incredibly important, especially for males. How is that like going in regards to speaking about it and coming out about it, and really kind of, how's the reception, I suppose?
It's been fine. The thing is ultimately as well, what I find, especially in an alternative medium like metal and rock and things, a lot of people tend to them because they are naturally provocative genres, and as a result they target parts of yourself that you don't really think about, and that's why I think it evokes such a strong emotion, and why it can also be quite cheesy but also good fun. And I'm in a position now where I spent the whole of lockdown kind of figuring a lot of myself out, because I went through a really, really horrible part of the first few months of 2020. Just waiting to see someone, because the waiting list in England is horrendous. But as soon as you surround yourself in a decent amount of people, and you're able to just keep your routines and keep working on things, I find that you're able to develop a lot of strength. One of the biggest things that I've learned, and it's probably been through making Stranger Than Fiction actually that helped me learn this, and it's one of the key messages. Acknowledging fragility and acknowledging chaos is the biggest strength and your biggest sense of balance. Because the second you realize that you aren't in control of things that are completely external factors, you stop caring so much. And I think I cared far too much about far too little for a really long time. And now Signal's a really good example of that disc, is, getting in your own head and picturing all these fantasy worlds of what everything else is going to be like, and then realizing it's like, oh no, it's just stuff. You know what I mean? That's why I think the album not having closure is a really important factor, because it's just like, don't worry about it, it's fine, just carry on, and the world will continue turning. And that's an important thing for anyone watching to keep in mind. Everything's temporary, and once you've got through the grey, man, you'll find somewhere. It's just going to be a lot of work, but it's what life is. You just got to graft, man.
Life is a lot of work.
It's a lot of graft. But you know what, man? At the end of it, there are little moments where those bits of work reward you, and I feel like there's no better job to explain that than being a musician, because I've never felt so much pride as I have now as being a musician, with some of the projects that I've been involved with, the ETL trilogy, anything to do with Reaper, all the solo stuff that'll be coming out soon. I'm really, really happy with it. And I know that the reward of having that out is going to massively outweigh the stresses of trying to get it finished. But equally, the journey's fun too. So.
I just don't know where you find the time, because you've taken on management as well.
I do. I manage
to record all of your stuff and take on management, and what else do? You teach.
It's just like fun. It's fun.
Dan Moran, a man constantly on the go.
Yes, sir.
Constantly on the go. So we're recording this very early in July. I don't know when we're going to be released.
What the hell
But
happened
we're
to
recording it.
2021,
I know.
man?
It just feels like it's just going.
really
Daniel
is.
Moran and 2021 constantly on the go. But you've already played some gigs.
Oh, yeah.
Even though the world hasn't quite fully opened up yet.
Yeah.
They've been like seated gigs and much kind of different world to what you're used to. How's that going? How's that feeling?
It's kind of made me realize I thought we were going to have a much more difficult time engaging with a seated audience. I thought we were fine, because the thing is, ultimately the main thing for us is the general vibe for me and for most projects, and the way that I kind of deliver myself into quite a lot of projects, is nothing is taken too seriously, except for the music, which is taken just seriously enough.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the stage show, that was no different. When we did that first show in Colville, we did, I think it was the Crypt.
Where you flooded my tent. Where you flooded my tent.
We did. I'm sorry. But we edited it out and it's fine. And I folded it up all on my own again.
Did you?
Yeah.
Were you using it?
Well, no, not the first
I don't
time.
know why I'm like now having.
Yeah, I don't know why that was the thing. It'll go in post. But yeah, I think we were doing the Crypt. And the halfway point of the set, and because the rest of the bill at this Colville Metal Invasion ran by Unearthed, it was quite a heavy bill of bands.
Yeah,
so when we played like an old school kind of thrash song, the whole place, even though they were sat down, just erupted. And I just screamed down the mic. I'm like, I'm so happy to be back doing this. Like, we're nearly there. Everyone just please be sensible. Because another month and a half, maybe 2, and this is where we're looking like we're coming into the clear.
Yeah, hopefully by the time, because we're launching in later July, so hopefully by the time that these all come out, things will have opened up again, and the whole 19th of July thing will have happened.
Fingers crossed.
But what a weekend. That was a mad weekend. You had lots of things to compete with, because you were on the indoor stage of Colville, there was an outdoor stage and the Download Festival pilot.
Oh there was.
That was a big weekend for music, and I hope, like, you know,
for sure.
I'm hoping that it all works out. That'd be pretty nice.
Yeah, fingers crossed, because the other seated gig that we did in Manchester with I think it was Tortured Demon, Agvia, and Twisted Obsession, forgive the pronunciation and the second one if that's not quite right. But that show was phenomenal too, ran by the 0161 crew, who are absolutely wonderful people. And you know, those 2 gigs went down a storm, and I genuinely think we're in, like, band-wise, I think, you know, we're in pretty solid form. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting back into doing the solo stuff again once this next major project is sorted out. And we can just spend next year just playing some shows, man. I miss it so much. Getting back on stage was like the reminder. That's like, that's why. That's why you do it.
Does it feel like things are kind of normal again, I suppose, ish?
It felt like all of the hard work that we had put in for a year and a half had finally come together for something.
Because it must have been hard. You like, and I'm trying to avoid too much Reaper detail, so feel free to just kind of gloss over it. But like having to promote an album in lockdown.
Yeah, that was rough. That was really rough. But the thing is ultimately we didn't do that disc because we wanted an album put out, and because we felt there was the need to. It was very much an unintentional disc in terms of how it was kind of pieced together, but yeah, it was a really important one for release, and it was, you know, it had a message that I think we very much needed to put out at the time.
Yeah. And it's a message that a lot of people really needed to hear. I really like Stranger Than Fiction.
Thanks, man. Me too.
I know. I'm just sitting here like,
yeah.
Well, yeah, no, it's very good.
Yeah.
Very strong album.
Yeah. The 7
Considering again, I've known you guys, like, of you guys. Look at Ant Flex in the corner.
The 7-track album with the longest bonus track on the planet.
It's considering again, like, the journey that I've kind of witnessed from the shadows, I suppose, because I wasn't like actively involved. Like, I knew a lot of other bands that were around about the same time, so like I knew of you guys, but again, never saw you, and I never like really followed you directly on that journey. But like, yeah, no, you've definitely, like, you've hit the nail on the head. I think at the moment you're doing really well as an individual as well. You're like,
thank you, dude. I really
just
appreciate
feels
it.
like, look at me being nice to people. What's happening here? Yeah, it feels like you're all on point, and I'm very happy to leave it on that note, I think.
Thank you, man. Yeah, no, I'm really happy with where things are going, and hopefully they keep going in that direction.
Yeah, so thank you, Dan, for
Thanks for
joining me
having us,
on the
man.
couch today in the armchair sessions, and I hope to see you again soon.
Yep, for sure. You will. Keep safe. Much love. So for any of you who've watched the interview and enjoyed my time here, thank you very much. And I hope you guys are all doing well. If you guys want to catch more stuff, tune into more of these streams, because it's going to be a lot of fun here. I'm going to play you guys one more song. This one is from Twisted Illusion's upcoming trilogy. It's called Empathy Is End. Can't relate to you. Feel the world or keep your heart alive. I never consider you an empath, someone who cared. Hide away, your mind will not survive. Treat me as a victim. Tell me what I want to hear. Tell me as someone human, and take away all of my fear. Tell me how I should feel about things